Have you ever seen a moment so powerful it changed a life forever? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because what happened inside that building will leave you speechless. It was a quiet Friday afternoon in downtown San Francisco. Inside the glass walls of Orion Tech, the air was heavy with panic. A $500 million system contract, the company's biggest in history, was on the verge of collapse. On every screen, red error codes flickered like warning sirens, each one screaming the same thing: failure. The company's top engineers had been working for 72 hours straight. Their eyes were bloodshot, voices tense, hope fading fast. The CEO, Victoria Hale, stood near the window, staring down at the city she might lose everything to. Her reflection looked back at her, calm on the outside, breaking inside. "Restart the entire system," one of the senior engineers barked. "We've already done that 4 times, another replied. "Then do it again." The tension was suffocating. Coffee cups littered the floor. The sound of keys tapping filled the silence like heartbeats in a hospital room. And then, the elevator bell rang. The doors opened slowly, and in walked a young man wearing a red and black pizza uniform, carrying 3 boxes stacked on one arm and a drink tray in the other. His name was Ethan Cole, 23 years old, a part-time pizza boy who spent his nights studying coding tutorials on his cracked laptop. He looked around awkwardly, sensing the storm of stress in the room. Delivery for Orion Tech," he said quietly. No one responded. They were too busy watching millions of dollars crash in real time. Ethan set the pizzas on a counter and was about to leave when his eyes caught the giant LED screen on the wall, hundreds of lines of code flashing endlessly. He frowned. Something about it didn't look right. He hesitated. Then, in a voice that barely rose above a whisper, he said, "Sorry to interrupt, but I think that line's looping wrong." Heads turned. A few engineers glared. One of them scoffed, "Kid, this isn't a video game bug. Please stay behind the line." Ethan raised his hand slightly, embarrassed. "Yeah, sure. I've seen that loop error before. It's calling itself backward." The lead engineer muttered under his breath, "Great, now the pizza guy's giving us coding advice." But one older programmer near the back paused. He leaned forward and looked at the screen. "Wait," he said slowly, "what did he just say?" Ethan pointed, stepping closer. "Right there. You're reinitializing the wrong variable inside the same recursive function. It's reversing the process instead of optimizing it." The room fell silent. The older engineer quickly typed a few lines. Then, suddenly, the red errors stopped. The charts blinked green. System load stabilized. For a moment, no one spoke. They just stared at the screen, then at the pizza boy who had fixed what 20 professionals couldn't solve in 3 days. Victoria Hale turned from the window. Her sharp eyes softened for the first time that day. "What's your name?" she asked. "Ethan," he stammered. "Ethan what?" "Ethan Cole." She stepped forward, heels clicking against the marble floor. "Ethan Cole, you just saved this company $500 million. He blinked, unsure how to respond. Do I still get a tip?" he said nervously. A few people laughed for the first time in days. Even Victoria smiled faintly. By that evening, word had spread through the building like wildfire. The pizza boy who saved Orion Tech. Some called it luck. Others called it impossible. But Victoria knew better. The next morning, as Ethan got ready for his shift, his old phone buzzed with an unknown number. Orion Tech headquarters. "Be here by 9 a.m., the voice said. He frowned. "Is this about the pizzas?" "Not exactly," the voice replied. When he arrived, the receptionist directed him to the top floor, a place he'd never imagined stepping foot in. The door opened to reveal a long table surrounded by executives and engineers. Victoria sat at the head, her presence commanding yet calm. "Ethan Cole," she said, motioning for him to sit. "You found a flaw that cost us 3 days and nearly $500 million. Tell me how." Ethan hesitated. "Honestly, I wasn't trying to fix anything. I just recognized the pattern. I've been teaching myself coding online. Self-taught, one executive murmured. No degree? No credentials? Ethan looked down. Just a dream. And Wi-Fi. Victoria studied him for a long moment. Dreams built every empire in this city, she said finally. From today, you're not a delivery boy anymore. You're joining our development training program. The room went quiet. Ethan stared at her, stunned. Are you serious? I don't say things I don't mean, she replied. Talent doesn't always come with a business card. That night, Ethan sat in his small apartment staring at his reflection. His uniform hung over the chair. His mother's photo sat on the counter, the woman who had worked 2 jobs to raise him, telling him, never let anyone tell you where you belong. For the first time, he believed it. Weeks passed. Ethan attended meetings, soaked up knowledge, and surprised even the top developers. But not everyone was happy. Some employees whispered behind his back. The pizza boy got lucky. He's not one of us. He'll mess up eventually. The pressure was suffocating. One afternoon, Ethan sat alone in the cafeteria, staring at his unfinished sandwich. Then Victoria walked in, coffee in hand. She sat across from him without a word. You're letting them get to you, she said finally. He shook his head. They're right. I don't belong here. You fixed a $500 million problem in seconds, she said sharply. You belong more than half of them. He looked up. Why me? Because you see what others ignore, she replied softly. That's what leadership looks like. Months later, Orion Tech was preparing for a global demo of their new AI system, the one Ethan had helped optimize. It was the company's biggest day. Every investor, every client, every competitor was watching. The event began flawlessly until the system suddenly froze again. Panic spread like wildfire. Engineers scrambled. Victoria's eyes darted to Ethan, who was already typing. Memory leak, he muttered. Not the same issue. This is deeper. How long? She asked quietly. Give me 30 seconds. He rerouted the code live on stage, bypassing an entire corrupted sequence. The system roared back to life, faster than before. The audience erupted in applause. Victoria turned to the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, she said proudly, meet the reason this company still stands. Every camera turned to Ethan. The same pizza boy who had once stood in this building with a delivery bag now stood in front of hundreds of executives, his name echoing across every newsfeed. That night, as the city lights shimmered across the bay, Victoria found Ethan on the rooftop terrace. He was holding his old pizza cap in one hand, the company badge in the other. You changed more than just code today, she said quietly. You changed how people see possibility. He smiled faintly. Guess I finally delivered something that mattered. Victoria laughed softly. You did more than that. You reminded us that greatness doesn't always wear a suit. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the skyline. The same building that once looked down on him now stood behind him, his own story written across its glass walls. As the wind brushed against his face, Ethan thought about his mother's words again. Never let anyone tell you where you belong. He looked at the glowing city below and whispered, I think I've finally found it. Sometimes, the people we overlook are the ones who carry the answers we've been chasing all along. And sometimes, a single act of courage can rewrite an entire destiny. So the next time you see someone who looks ordinary, remember, they might just be the one who saves everything. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more cinematic tales of kindness, courage, and the power of unexpected heroes.